Greetings and thanks for joining GrowerTalks and Green Profit for another Trending Now video, where we talk about cool new products for professional growers and garden center retailers. I'm Bill Calkins, Senior Editor of GrowerTalks magazine, and today I'm joined by John Bonin, the Substrate Mix Product Manager for Jiffy Products of America. He's also the Senior Account Manager, and he earned his Bachelor of Science degree in Earth Environmental Sciences and a subsequent MBA at Wilkes University, and John's been at Jiffy for 12 years. So John, welcome. How are things in PA? And I guess, do you have any early thoughts on the spring 2023 season?
Sure, Bill. Thanks for having Jiffy here with another one of your sessions online. We're looking forward to a spring here in the Northeast. It was somewhat of a mild winter. We had a warm spell last week, and everyone had a very good Easter weekend of selling. It's been a little bit cool this week, but from what I hear and talking with some growers out there in the Northeast, they're looking forward to a successful season coming up.
Excellent. I know there's a lot of product in greenhouses right now that's waiting to get out the door, and a lot of shoppers ready to come and fill their carts. So hopefully that bodes well for us all as an industry. But, based on your credentials, John, and your expertise in substrates, I really think it sounds like you are the right guy to take us through a little bit of Jiffy's mission and the importance of high quality substrates in general before jumping right into the product that we're going to focus on today, the new Flexistart method for professional plug growers. So I guess without further ado, John, the floor is yours, and let us know a little bit about Jiffy and the product we're talking about today.
Sure, Bill. The product that we'll get to a little bit later on in the presentation was 3 to 3.5 years in the making, and was a global product launch within the last 6 to 9 months in Europe, the U.S., Canada, and even Mexico markets. When you look at superior mixes and you look at mixes for today's grower, a professional grower wants an optimal growing media that's best suited for their crops. It sounds simple, but that involves a huge range of variables that go into manufacturing a great quality substrate for horticultural, agricultural, or hydroponic crops. Every crop demands a reliable and consistent substrate composition to ensure optimal yield, plant stability, nutrient supply, water retention, and ultimately plant quality on a finished goods end. So growers today also have more demands as well for organic crops and environmental friendly cultivation methods. The reusability and safe disposal properties of substrates are increasingly important as well, particularly in our industry, and we are happy it is. So our substrate line produced from our factories around the world answer today's demands for professional plant production.
Excellent. I think that you're spot on with what growers need, and this seems like a product that's going to fit those needs pretty well.
Yeah, no, it's one of those that Jiffy takes great pride in, depending on where it's produced from any one of our worldwide factories. And it's something that Jiffy has a good foundation on in understanding what a grower is asking for, and particularly from a substrate range. And I've been doing this a very long time, not as long as others, but I like to say if you start with a good input, you'll finish with a great output. And I think that leads to Jiffy and the foundation for our successes in the substrate market. So Bill, as we jump into this today, I think you could see here from the lead-in screen, what is a foundation for success, and why is a high-quality substrate essential for horticultural, agricultural, and hydroponic crops from Jiffy? So some may know of Jiffy, some may not, but the Jiffy Group is renowned for its outstanding quality of its growing media. Growers know they can rely on Jiffy year-round to supply them with a wide range of clean, safe, sustainable, and innovative solutions when it comes to crop production, either in hydroponics, agricultural markets and fields, or the traditional horticultural production sites.
Jiffy is an iconic company in our industry. I think that I don't know how long Jiffy's been in business, but it's a long time, and I know that there's a lot of trust in your products.
Expanding back over 50 years plus, our traditional products, which started a long time ago, which is our organic peat pots used in production worldwide, as well as our pellets. are growing in market share right now based on the versatility of the crops that product can be used in. And here you could see on screen, which is our locations, our production locations from around the world. We produce various products in Canada, Denmark, Estonia, Japan, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sri Lanka, which is our engineering center where our Acquire product is produced, particularly with pellets, grow blocks, and grow bags. Sweden and the USA, where we produce our world-renowned product called Performa, and also the other site, which is based in the Netherlands as well. So we can satisfy global markets very quickly from our production sites anywhere throughout the world.
I would imagine that means you learn a lot about different requirements globally that might impact those countries today, but might certainly also impact North America in the future.
Correct. When you look at products either locally sourced or worldwide sourced, Jiffy and our components with how we understand production and we understand the versatility of what it takes to produce a product for growers. Not every grower is the same. Growers have different attributes and different aspects in terms of what they need from a company, and that's where we feel Jiffy is in a good position to offer that. So the Jiffy Group and our quality assurance, as you can see here from the certificates that appeared on the screen, we have a lot of certificates, and the most recent one that's out there is our ISO 22000 food safety management system that has been implemented throughout several of our factories. And Bill, why today I think it's important to talk about certificates and what we do, particularly which our production plants have been ISO certified in several categories, is food safety. When you look at whatever size of product, particularly for food producers, they have a responsibility, just like a supplier has a responsibility to manage the safety of the products for the well-being of their customers. So when you look at the consequences of unsafe food, which can be serious, these management standards, particularly the ISO 22000, can identify and control food safety hazards, while at the same time working together with other ISO management standards in terms of production for growers to give them a reliability that they can count on each and every time. It also provides a layer of reassurance within the global food supply chain, which helps products, particularly crossing borders and bringing people food that they can trust. We're proud to be one of these companies that have implemented an ISO 22000. Our production plants are ISO certified in many categories. And in addition, our European plants, we offer an RHP certified substrates for Europe and other organic options as well. And I think that's critical when you look at food production and food safety around the world today. The RHP certificate is an independent audit system that looks at Jiffy's components, or what we would call a bill of materials for our substrates, and we have to meet certain standards and expectations every quarter and each year. It gives us a reliability, it gives us a great supply chain, and it gives us the ability to produce that product year-round that growers know is produced in a factory with either a food safety management system or other ISO certificates as well. But it just gives a trusting factor with regards to food and the production capabilities that Jiffy has as a worldwide organization.
Absolutely, and you're aligning with the same regulations and requirements that a lot of your customers have, and kind of helping them start with a product that's going to put them right on that path to being being on par with what's needed in the market.
Correct. I think when you look at horticultural and you look at agricultural inputs, the ability to feed and supply the world with food is very critical. And that's one of Jiffy's primary components in seeking and receiving approval for the food safety management system, which is the ISO 22000, which is a great category for us to operate in because of the 30 plus or 35 plus components that we use. Each one is independently audited, checked, and also goes through a very, very rigorous standards and quality checks from our internal team as well. So the importance of high quality substrates, I think, is very critical. And as you can see the points coming up here, And I won't cover all of them in depth, but I will cover some of the key factors with regards to the high quality substrates. So if you look at point number one, the use of high quality substrate can lead to an increased yield for professional growers. And I really think whether you're agricultural, hydroponic, or horticultural, that's a key critical point. So when you incorporate a good soil mix and you start good, you can finish either quicker, you can finish on time, or with a better produced product, which in turn means more profit for you if you can ship that product faster and better to a marketplace or to your end user. I think that's very critical. It provides the necessary nutrients and support to grow and produce a larger harvest. And now with the controlled environment agricultural section within hydroponics, I think that's a critical piece to everybody's element when they're looking at their final product. So number two, when you look at a high quality substrate, it can help improve plant health by providing a stable environment for roots to grow and absorb nutrients. If you have an inferior blend of a soilless substrate that is minimizing any root expansion, that's minimizing root absorption of nutrients, can lead to an extended period of crops of a growing cycle or growing time, which in turn will cost a grower more. At Jiffy, we minimize and eliminate all of that by understanding what a grower specifically needs in terms of finishing a crop on time for their customers. A high quality substrate can also help retain water better than poorer quality substrates. So the more labor, the more water consumption, the more fertilizer consumption, all leads to an increase in higher production cost. And that's where Jiffy really understands the market in terms of what crops customers are growing and how we can help them minimize with the right amount of fraction size in the substrate, nutrient absorption and nutrients from the start, and then maintaining that water quality management system that they need to finish on time with their crop cycle. And then last, number four, while a high quality substrate may have a higher upfront cost, and we always look at things from a starting point, not necessarily a finishing point. It can save professional growers money in the long run. And I think I mentioned that before. When you finish on time and you can produce a crop on time without having higher costs as an input factor, your cost to produce actually goes down. And that's where Jiffy works well with growers. We understand their needs, we understand their cycles, their systems, and their crops. And then we can help recommend the right soilless media that is structured for them. And I think, Bill, one important point, as you could see up in the top right, when you look at growing media, and growing media is predicted to increase over 400% in the next 8 years. And why is that critical? When you look at the food and you look at the supply chain of the food, peat is one of those underlying characteristics that help agricultural, horticultural, and hydroponic crops maintain their balance for healthy harvests.
Yep, and I don't think that I think that 400% number is pretty scary to think about. But I don't think that growers have their head in the sand about the cost increases related to substrates. But it's definitely something that every grower around the world has to keep in mind and be considering looking into the future.
Correct. And I've said it, before, when you look at high quality substrates, it's not necessarily about a lower input cost for your production. It's about the best input cost for you to achieve a quality final product that is produced on the end. And that, I think, is the critical piece. Anywhere in or any hiccups that you can experience in the middle of your crop production cycle can lead to reduced yields or reduced output, which in turn creates an internal higher cost that sometimes isn't necessarily seen on the front end.
Absolutely, and increased quality leads to less shrink. And you've already gone over the benefits in terms of labor and all the input costs involved. I think, that's what you just said is a very good point for every grower to consider.
Yeah, they're all critical, not only from our aspect in terms of how we produce it in our state-of-the-art facility in the Netherlands for the European market or in Canada as well. Every input, or what we call as a component, is vital to the success of a grower. So it comes to the question that we get asked a lot, that's been asked a lot over the last several years, is why is peat used in a growing media? Well, I think peat, when you look at what it can do to a crop, it provides optimal conditions for plant growth with minimal presence of pathogens and weed seeds. And I think that's critical compared to a lot of other inputs that can be used out there that may reduce or take away peat in the growing process. Peat is a key raw material for producing high quality crops, while it minimizes resource usage due to its stable physical and chemical properties. And I think that's critical for growers in the marketplace. And again, whether it's agriculture, hydroponic, or horticulture, it minimizes any issues in production because it maintains its physical properties and chemical properties as well. That's why peat is one of the number one substrates, and in certain markets, the number one substrate for crop production. Peat is also a low-risk alternative fiber due to its minimal contamination risk and can be easily adjusted to accommodate most plant requirements by adding lime and nutrients. And again, as I stated before, it's not a simple approach. It's more of a complex approach versus just adding lime, nutrients, and other additives to a peat moss after harvest and on a production line. So there's a couple of cultural reasons here that I'll touch on, as well as commercial reasons as well. Peat is very stable. Peat is pathogen-free. Peat is also safe for food production. The right characteristics of peat with regards to fraction size for the container size, whether it's a young seedling in a 512 tray or something that's produced in a hanging basket, it gives good air and water balance, which is critical for a customer's customer success when they take the plant home from a garden center or even producing food indoors. It's got a stable pH and EC once it's regulated. It's got a stable pH and EC for the crops that you're producing. And again, I always like to say one mix does not fit all. And I think that's very critical because pH ranges are different within different crops. And that's where Jiffy works with growers to determine what are those factors inside, how are you handling those factors inside for the amount of various crops that you will be producing. And, when you look at peat, it's consistent and reliable. It's got a great buffering capacity. It's got great re-wetting factors, and it's got a low nutrient content with regards to how it's harvested. So there's a couple of commercial reasons I want to touch on as well. Peat is reliable, and the quality of the product is reliable. It's sufficient availability in volume from around the world. We harvest peat moss in Canada. We also harvest a few specific locations in Europe as well. It's got pretty much a stable cost. It can be easily mixed with other components such as coir, bark, and other components out there used to produce not only food crops, but hydroponic and horticultural crops as well. It's locally available. We harvest in Canada, as I stated before, and for Europe, we harvest in multiple sites in Europe as well.
I think that the other aspect of peat is that it's been used for a very long time. Growers are comfortable with peat and peat-based substrates, and there's really doesn't seem to be much of a learning curve necessary. There's been a lot of research on it. It's definitely the go-to component, like you said.
Correct. And my last point there, Bill, as well, is it's trusted by generations of growers. And I think that's a critical piece that's there. Growers understand the behavioral aspects of peat. And I think it helps minimize any production issues, et cetera, because of the long time use of it. Growers understand it, and growers look at using peat first as an input for their crops. And I think, trusted by generations, when I started 32 plus years ago in this industry, looking at soil and water quality of those aspects, it's still the leading number one product. And if I was still growing, that I would be using as well. So the Jiffy substrate that we produce is very reliable. It's of the highest quality and inputs and components. A lot of what Jiffy does, Bill, is tailor-made. By working with growers, we have the ability to understand what challenges they face what different solutions they're looking to from a supplier such as Jiffy. And that's where we can operate and in that field and offer superior plant performance. I think those are some of the critical aspects as we continue through here, that Jiffy understands the market and works with growers from the ground up. And I think that when you look at production, you look at supply chain, and what Jiffy does as a global organization, we are certainly one of the leaders in those categories.
And I would suspect that in more than 50 years of business, you've learned a lot about growers' specific needs and been in, hundreds, thousands of greenhouses, and have a pretty good library of technical resources to help growers make those substrate decisions based on their specific production.
We do, Bill, and that's a great point. And I just want to circle back a little bit and say that 50 years is for the peat pod and the pellet, but the Jiffy substrate within the organization has been producing for many, many more years prior to that. And I think your point is right on. We operate in greenhouses or agricultural fields every day. We understand substrates because of the vast quality of products that we produce from either Quire or we produce from our Jiffy peat substrates worldwide, including our organic pots. But we have an understanding in working with growers. We have an understanding of what their expectations are, and we have an expectation to them to offer the best possible opportunity of mix, peat pellets, grow blocks, or grow bags for their production. And I think those are some critical points that we cover all of those aspects when you look at what Jiffy can offer as an organization. So Jiffy's European substrates are now offered in North America. We've been representing Jiffy European lines in North America for the last 12 to 15 years. And one of the things that is different with Jiffy is, when you look at European substrates and you look at the RHP certification of those mixes that come from the European market, it gives us another attribute in terms of working with growers in different markets. And here you could see, we control the production of our own high quality raw materials, including sometimes the sourcing of third-party inputs. And here are just some various shots from field trials and working with growers in the Northeast US here. And I'll touch on some of these as we get to Flexistart, because the product you're seeing here is Flexistart.
Oh, okay.
So European peat is harvested either in milled peat or block harvested fractions, as well as longer fiber types. And this is critical because it offers a uniform combination of air and water within all pot sizes and crop types as well. So due to European peat characteristics and Jiffy's manufacturing, our substrate allows growers to decrease irrigation intervals. And I think that's critical because not all peat is the same. Characteristics of Canadian peat is different than the characteristics of European peat as well. So the main point I think that brings us here today is Flexistart, and it's Jiffy's newest innovative product offering in a soilless field, particularly for growers worldwide. And what it does is it increases efficiency internally for growers with Flexistart. And I think that's critical when you look at increased efficiencies in a production environment. So Flexistart is a new and improved method for better production, reduced soil loss, while it also keeps plugs intact with transplanting equipment and automation equipment as well. And that's really the innovative aspect of Flexistart. It'll help minimize waste. It'll decrease labor. It's 100% natural. It's an enriched substrate, and it's got excellent handling capabilities.
And I've seen automation, over my 15 plus years walking through greenhouses, and it's exciting to see automation becoming more affordable and more accessible to growers of all sizes. I mean, it used to be you'd see automation equipment in the largest greenhouses. Now, mid-sized, smaller operations, everybody is taking a look at options in mechanical transplanting and all sorts of automation across the board. So I think that this product seems applicable to growers of all sizes.
It is, Bill, and that's a great point. Whether it's a small operation or large operation, FlexiStart helped change the way growers look at automation, particularly with the few growers that we worked with from the start on this great innovative product. And you'll see a few points that I'll touch on shortly. But I think it's great because it transforms from a loose fill mix into what we call a flexible plug simply by adding water or a higher moisture content prior to the tray filling process. Its flexibility from what we've seen is unmatched. It's got great proven performance, whether it's from seedling plugs, cuttings, or the use of some of the newest automation equipment in the marketplace today. And it offers a fully enforced dibble structure. So in other words, when we're working with growers on a production line for cuttings or a production line for seed, it's a fully enforced dibble structure. That dibble structure does not move, which gives growers a great assertion that the cutting and that the seed will be placed and will not move or shift in their trays. And once again, it's 100% natural.
I think that dibble structure is critical. I know that the technical folks that I work with in my day job are always struggling or advising growers to make sure that those trays are dibbled well, so that there is good contact between seed and soil, cutting and soil, yes, whatever it is. And I know that can be hard when it's done manually.
It is, Bill, and that's a great point. At Jiffy, we work with some of the largest growers throughout the world, and particularly from my role, when we go in and we assess on site what growers are doing and what they're looking for in the products that we offer, we always go from start to finish. And whether it's seeding or whether it's cutting, there's a lot of critical components that may be overlooked. But from a seeding aspect, if you're producing plugs, or a cutting aspect, if you're producing cuttings to sell into the open market, those are two of the critical factors that need to be looked at from the start. And that's where FlexiStart is innovative in terms of that it holds that dibble structure for growers. So when you look at FlexiStart and you look at the way this product can help transform production, it's about performance and savings. It's compatible with all loose fill machines, dibbling systems. It's suitable for any tray or cell configuration, from a 512 or even certain parts of the world where they may produce a smaller plug greater than a 512, all the way down to some of the bigger cuttings that growers may be producing throughout the world also. It enhances plant performance. We've seen through our R&D and our innovation process, particularly on the ground with growers, it enhances plant performance, and you'll see that on a few slides coming up with regards to the root structure compared to your standard or traditional seedling or propagation mixes. Saves labor and reduces waste because it operates in line as a soilless mix. There's no changes or any equipment that is needed. It operates in line with the current equipment right now. And it enables just-in-time production from our state-of-the-art facility in the Netherlands. Speed and precision is another factor that needs to be considered as well. What we've seen from our research is automated systems can run up to twice as fast and work with almost all new inline automated sticking equipment. And I think that's critical as growers look at reducing labor. They look at increasing output. This is where FlexiStart really has a chance to shine in operations. Trials by major growers showed propagators achieved an increase in deliverable trays per hour. We do have some measurements on that if somebody wants to take a look at those measurements, but that's a great attribute. So the more that a grower can produce per hour, per day, per week, leads to a greater profitability with less labor hours using other products. And FlexiStart, as you touched on, Bill, and I touched on as well, it guarantees a perfectly centered dibbling hole even at higher speeds for filling and dibbling machines. And that's critical for seed placement, particularly in operation with some of the transplanting equipment that growers are using within their facilities now for plugs.
And you and I have both been in greenhouses in plug producers where they're running thousands and thousands and thousands of trays, just before noon. And so that efficiency, the speed of running them through the line is definitely important. And I think that's great that's something that you guys at Jiffy focus on.
It's really critical, and I think one of the things too that we always touch on with growers is, growers look for partners, and that's where Jiffy, with our vast amount of resources, vast amount of R&D projects, and vast amount of representatives throughout the world, can really help partner with a grower to understand their needs, things that they're experiencing in greenhouse that they want to overcome, production methods, quantifying production methods, and particularly innovative crops like Flexistart, help give growers that competitive advantage that they've been looking for in their production the last several years. And I think the final slide here, Bill, sums it up with Jiffy, is let's work together. Because when we at Jiffy look at soil, we look at a healthy and active soil life that is a great strength of our products, whether it's our organic mixes, mixes in the Europe market with compost, our soilless mixes, and including Flexistart now. We understand innovation is still necessary, and we want to continue to develop working towards common goals based on facts, teamwork, and involvement, and most of all, partnering with our growers, our grower customers, and how we can help them increase their outputs while decreasing their inputs. And I think that's critical in today's world. And we like to do that through cultivation with results and innovation. And I thank you, Bill, for the time today.
Absolutely, John. Those are fantastic goals. It's very clear that you put the customer first, and that partnership, I know, is it's invaluable to growers who are always looking to improve processes and use the best materials in their greenhouse, whether that's for food production, nursery production, hydroponic, horticulture. I'm sure that covers all bases. So, John, thank you so much for your time and expertise. It really does sound like Flexistart is more than just a reliable, high-quality product. It is a game changer for professional plug growers in their efforts to drive performance, speed, precision, end up with higher quality, all while, obviously reducing waste and labor costs. You have a lot of positives there. So thank you so much for your time, John.
Thanks, Bill. And one last comment. At Jiffy, we do it responsibly and in a sustainable way moving forward. So thank you, Bill, once again.
Absolutely. And we will put resources for Jiffy products in the show notes and description of this video. So be sure to click on those links and learn more about the product. Reach out to the team at Jiffy, who are always there to partner with you to bring you the highest quality substrates that you can use in your production. So
great,
that
Bill,
wraps up.
You.
Absolutely. And that wraps up another Trending Now video from GrowerTalks and Green Profit. So on behalf of Ball Publishing and the team at Jiffy Products of America, thanks for watching. And now's the time to jump back in the Trending Now playlist and check out some of the other videos covering a wide range of products for the horticulture industry. Take care out there.
All right. Thank you.